Hare Krishna. Om Partaya Pradibodhidam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gradidam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvānusantadāmi Bhagavad Gīte Bhavadveshinim Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Ullarabindaya cha Patranetra Tena tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prabandha Parijataya Totra Vetrikapanaya Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Gita Murdaduhe Namaha Sarvopanishado Gavaha Dokta Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsasudhir Bogda Dugdam Gita Amritam Mahat Vasudeva Sudam Devam Kamsajanuramarthanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Bhishmadrona Tadavayatra Jadala Gandharanenotpala Salyagrahavatir Venamahani Karnena Velakula Ashvattama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Shrotir Nakalu Pandavayarani Kaivartakat Keshavaha Parada Salyavajasaroja Mamalam Gītārtha Ghandodghatam Nānātyāgakesharam Harikatha Sambodhana Bodhitam Loke Shajjana Satpahayaraha Teviyamanam Buddha Bhuyat Bharata Pankajam Kalimala Pradvamshina Shreyase Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkrupadamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marudaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedaishchagramadapmopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyana Vastita Tatkatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam Navidussura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutare Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Tinamine Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutare Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yonta Pravishya Vachamam Prasuptam Sanjeeviyate Shakti Dharaswadamna Anyam Hastacharana Shravanatvagadin Pranan Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Pan Pasman Guruhu Tavairi Balavan Matangamadhyat Ghata Kumbho Chatri Vipadanati Kapatu Pratyeka Vajrayitaha Srimad Kanti Ravasya Pratasanakara Dharidarat Gora Pratvastattvanta Shanta Pravadmanasaha Bhavita Bhuri Bhagaihi Hare Krishna. Welcome you all for this Gita Sastri course. So it's not a overview course anymore. It can be called as Gita Shastri underview because there is no word called underview, but this word was invented by His Grace Gopi Paramadana Prabhu when he was speaking about Srimad Bhagavatam. He said Bhagavatam has to be understood not as an overview but as an underview. It means in detail we should understand. So he invented this word. So in this way, in the manner, now we have taken up this huge task of trying to understand Bhagavad Gita in a very systematic way, weekly 5 days, maybe 1 or 2 shlokas per day, along with the various acharyas' commentaries. So, in order to be successful in this endeavor, we should seek blessings of Lord Shri Krishna and also Vyasadeva and all our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, and all the devotees here. So, From today onwards, we'll go through Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters, weekly 5 days in this Zoom meeting. And let's see whatever Krishna is willing, we'll try to cover as much as possible without any hindrance. So, this Bhagavad Gita, Ajayamanaha Bhuta Vijayate, Upanishad says that the Lord, even though he has no birth, he doesn't have to take birth in this material world, in this miserable material world, but still Lord comes down in this material world unlimited times. Ajayamanaha Bahuda Vijayate. It's not only once or twice, he comes down unlimited times, and he will be coming here unlimited times. It's not like us, at least for Jivatmas, who are at one point of time, after finishing up their karmas, after getting the real knowledge, coming out of the ignorance, they can get out of this world. They don't have to come back to this material world. Krishna promises that you don't have to come back to this material world, which is full of anityam asukam lokam, or which is again dukkha mashashvatam. This world is full of miserable and temporary. So one who has crossed over the samsara, he doesn't have to come back to this material world. He doesn't like to come back to this material world again. The Jivatmas who has attained the spiritual world, because his karma is over. But it is not the case with Lord. He cannot say, I cannot come back to this material world. He has to come back to this material world. He has to come back again and again. And Krishna very happily says that I come to this material world for every yuge. He says, I come back to this material world in every millennium. Ajayamanaha Bahuda Vijayate. Why he comes? Out of mercy. Krishna's mercy makes him to come to this material world, even though the Nitya Suris or the liberated soul in the spiritual world, they say to Krishna, please don't go to this material world. These people, they cannot handle you. They cannot take care of you properly. But still, Krishna, out of mercy, he comes to this material world in order to deliver us, in order to reclaim his lost materials, his lost sons that who are all struggling in this material world. That is us. So Krishna makes so many endeavors in order to reclaim us. So what we have to do, we have to just accept Krishna's will. We have to just accept Krishna's mercy, or we have to just accept Krishna's plan to reclaim us. That is the only thing that we can do in order to help Krishna in his endeavor. So Krishna, he comes down as many avatars, but among all the avatars, Krishna avatara is considered as the Purna avatara. Why? Because in other avatars, Krishna comes down and he kills demons and he rescues devotee. But in Krishna avatara, especially, he doesn't just kill and rescue devotees, but he establishes dharma also, dharma samsthapanarthaya. How he establishes dharma? By means of giving the Vedic knowledge. In other avatars, we don't see the avatars talking much. In Varaha, in Narasimha, in Vamana, in Matsya, in Kurma, all these avatars we have, there are unlimited avatars. So all those avatars, they come down for a particular purpose. And after finishing their purpose, they all go back. We don't see them instructing so much. In special cases like Hamsa Avatara, Vyasa Avatara, they instruct. But especially in the Purna Avatara, Krishna is considered as Purna. Why? Because he comes down and then he gives us the knowledge or the means to attain him. So that's why Krishna Avatara is considered as the most glorious. Even though Krishna is Raso Vaisaha, he's enjoying all kinds of different rasas, but it doesn't have anything to do with us. Yes, Krishna is supreme enjoyer, but what it has to do with me, why I call him as a Purna Avatara? I call him as Purna Avatara because he gives us a way to reach him. So that's why Krishna is Purna Avatara. Even though Rama Avatara is also considered as Purna Avatara, but Rama doesn't instruct much, even though he speaks few shlokas like Sakradeva Prapannaya Mitra Bhamaena Sampraptam. So in these shlokas, even though Rama reclaims us and he instructs us, but it is not as much as that we see in Krishna Avatar. So Krishna Avatara is specially meant to give us instructions to reach him. And among those instructions, this Bhagavad Gita is considered as the highest, and it is considered as the full instruction or the complete instruction what Lord wanted to give us. So this Bhagavad Gita, we can understand it's a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. But this conversation is ultimately, if you see from Krishna's point of view, it has no any point. Why? Because Krishna is Sarveshwara or Ishvara, or is called Vasatkara, he is called Rishikesha. He is a controller of everyone. He can control anyone. So Krishna could have made Arjuna to fight in a second. He could have changed Arjuna's mind in a second. But Krishna didn't do that. Krishna, he made Arjuna to get confused and to pronounce the word Nayotsaiti Govinda. He said, I will not fight. So he made Arjuna to get confused and refuse to fight. And also he kept him in a confused position so that this Bhagavad Gita Shastra can be brought up. So that's why this Bhagavad Gita is not only for, or not just for Arjuna, or we can say it is not meant for Arjuna itself, it is meant for us. So this Bhagavad Gita knowledge that we get from Krishna is considered as the topmost Vedic knowledge. Why? Because Krishna sees the quality of the people in the Dwapara Yuga itself, that people are becoming more and more lazy in understanding the intricacies or the conclusions of Vedas. People are lazy themselves to understand or to undertake any kind of spiritual life itself. So even after coming to spiritual life, we find very few people have any interest to understand the conclusions of the Vedas, or to understand the intricacies, the subtle points which are mentioned in the Vedas. So even though Krishna knows this in the Dwapara Yuga itself, he wanted to give us the essence of the Vedas, and then he has given us this Bhagavad Gita. So Shastras, they proclaim Tattva Jnanad Moksha Ajnanat Samsara. By Tattva Jnana, one gets moksha, and by Ajnana, one is again and again bound to take birth again and again in this material world. He is bound up in this material world. That is ignorance. By means of ignorance, we have to come back to this material world. So Jnana, or the knowledge, is considered as a means to attain liberation. So Krishna comes down to give us that supreme knowledge. So with that knowledge, we can develop bhakti, vairagya, and everything else. So this knowledge can be received in three forms. That is Upanishad, and we have Vedanta, and we have Bhagavad Gita. So this Upanishad is called Veda Vakya. Whatever Vedas want to instruct us, they are all present in Upanishads. So Upanishad is called Veda Vakya. And then the Vedanta, it is considered as the Vaidika Vakya. Vaidika Vakya means the followers of Vedas, they have come to a conclusion. So those conclusions are present in Vedanta. That is Vyasadeva himself. He has given us the conclusions of the Vedas. That is called Vedanta, and is called Vaidika Vakya. And Bhagavad Gita, it is considered as the Vedya Vakya. The Vedya Vakya. Vedya means the person whom we have to know from Vedas. The object of the Veda himself is talking. So that's why it's called Vedya Vakya. The Bhagavad Gita is called Vedya Vakya. So all from these three, we have to understand the three important things. That is Tattva, Hita, Purushartha. The Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana, Tattva are discussed from these three sources of knowledge. And then Shastras, they say that whatever you go through in the Shastra, whatever you research, ultimately you should come to this understanding of Lord. Alaudya Sharva Shastrani Vicharyana Punah Punah Idam Ekam Sunishpannam Dheyo Narayana Sada. This is what Madhvacharya says. Alaudya Sharva Shastrani Vicharya Punah Punah. Even after repeatedly trying to research, criticizing the Shastras, what is the ultimate understanding? Dheyo Narayana Sada. One should meditate on Lord Krishna. And Sada, always one should meditate on Lord Krishna. That is the ultimate understanding of all the Shastra. So how we can get this ultimate dhyana of Lord Krishna. For that, we should understand the Tattva Hita Purushartha or the Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana Tattvas. If we don't understand this, then the dhyana on the Lord doesn't arise. So, there is a beautiful statement which is present in the Upanishad. It says, Praptasya Brahmano Rupam. In the Shastra, we find 5 important things. These 3 things, the Sattvahita Purushartha, can be again understood in 5 important topics of Shastras. He says, Praptasya Brahmano Rupam. The Shastras deals with these 5 things. What are they? Praptasya Brahmano Rupam. Praptasya means the ultimate Purushartha or the ultimate goal of everyone, that is Lord. So that is the first topic of Shastra. Praptasya Brahmano Rupam. Praptyuscha Pratyagatmanaha. And the attainer, that is the soul, that is the second subject of the Shastra. Then Praptipayam, the means to attain that Lord, is called Praptipayam. Phalam Praptehe. Phalam Praptehe means the result of attaining that Lord. What is the result that I'm going to get after attaining the Lord? Tata Prapti Virodhischa. And then the enemy which is in between myself or the soul and the Supreme Lord. There is something which is making an hindrance. By means, we are not able to attain that Lord. So what is that ediri, or what is that virodhi, or what is that enemy? So that enemy we should understand. Vadanti sakala vedaha sa itikahasa puranakaha munayascha mahatmanaha veda vedantinaha. So this is what all the Shastras, they teach us, these 5 important subjects. That is the Lord, the Jivatma, the means, the result, and the Virodhi or the enemy which is in between the Lord and the soul. So these 5 things we should understand. If we can understand these 5 things, then we are considered as the knower of the Shastra, the knower of the Vedas. So what is this enemy? The enemy can be classified into 3 types. That is avidya, ashraddha, samshaya. So what is avidya? Avidya means ignorance about the Lord. We don't have any knowledge about the soul or about the Lord. So that is considered as avidya. And then the second is called ashraddha. Ashraddha means not having complete faith. Yes, now we know, we theoretically understand, or we theoretically know the knowledge about the soul, about the Lord, about devotion service. But ashraddha means even after knowing, we don't have that much eagerness to attain that. So that is the definition of shraddha. Shraddha means prapya tvara prapya. That is, when you understand, when you know something, then you should develop that eagerness to attain that immediately. That is how you define shraddha. That is how you define the faith. If you have faith, if you have conviction about what you have heard, then what you will do, you will endeavor, you will show the eagerness to attain that. But that eagerness, it is not there in us. Even though we understand theoretically about soul, about God, but we don't have that eagerness to attain Him, to understand Him, or to act in the spiritual platform. So that is called ashraddha. And then third one is called samshaya. Samshaya means doubtfulness. Yes, we have the knowledge and we are practicing. We are like so-called devotees trying to practice something. But this samshaya comes not completely trusting on the Lord. We can see the example of Gajendra. Even though he had knowledge and he was a devotee from his previous life, he remembers we should remember the Lord whenever we are in danger. But even though he had the knowledge and he was in a trouble, he had developed this eagerness to attain the Lord because he had the trouble, so he should approach the Lord. But even though all the circumstances were there, but this Gajendra, he could not remember Lord for even after 1,000 years. For 1,000 years, he was struggling. He was thinking, I will be able to save myself. Or this she elephants who are around us, this 9,000 she elephants was escorting the Gajendra. So he was thinking maybe this elephants will save me. But when the Gajendra understood, but nothing can save me, then he called the Lord. Like Draupadi, she had the knowledge about the Lord, and she was practicing. She was a devotee. But when the trouble comes, she was thinking, I will be able to save myself. I can save myself. So she was not completely faithful, or she was hesitating to call Lord completely. And then when she understood that, yes, I cannot save myself, I should call out for the Lord, then Lord came. So that is called Samshaya, not having complete trust. So these are all considered as an enemy. So all these subjects matter are discussed in the Shastra, especially in this Bhagavad Gita. All these subject matters are very vividly described. And according to Baladev Vidyabhushan and Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, in Bhagavad Gita, we understand 5 important subjects. That is Vibhu Samvit. Vibhu Samvit means that is about Ishvaram. And we have Anu Samvit, that is considered as Jivatma. And we have Prakriti, that is the 3 modes of material nature. And we have Nimittamaya, Nimittamaya, that is called the Kala. Kala, it is considered as the Dravya which has no any gunas. So undefined Dravya is called Kala. And the objects or the constitutes, what constitutes the Kala is called the actions, and then the Swabhava, and then we have the Deva, the fate. These 3 constitutes the Kala future. And we have Karma. Karma means the force or the destiny, whatever actions we perform. So whatever destiny we get, that is considered as the Karma. So these are the 5 subjects matter which are discussed in this Bhagavad Gita. That's what will be understanding in this Bhagavad Gita. So what is the use of understanding Bhagavad Gita? What is the use of understanding anything in this material world? What is the use of doing anything in this material world? There is only one use, that is Ananda. In this material world, whatever we do just for the one purpose, that is to remove our problems and to gain the happiness or to gain the complete bliss. That is the whole purpose of doing anything. So by means of understanding Bhagavad Gita, we come out of our anxiety and we develop immediate happiness or immediate bliss. Mahantam vidum atmanam matva dhiro na sochati. This is what Upanishad says, that when you understand about your own swarupa, about your relationship with the Lord, then one becomes immediately happy. Just by hearing the message of Bhagavad Gita, one becomes happy. That is the first use of Bhagavad Gita, first benefit of Bhagavad Gita. You don't have to even practice, but just by hearing Bhagavad Gita, you become very happy. How is it possible? Then we can give many examples, like a person who is a daily wage person, who is a daily wager and he's suffering, he's begging every day and going out and begging, and he's living in a life of poverty. But when that person comes to know that wherever he's sleeping, under him there is a big wealth, big treasure is there. So just by hearing the news, he becomes completely happy. He becomes free from the anxiety. So that's why this Bhagavad Gita is considered as the ultimate solution for all our problems, because it helps us to broaden our consciousness. The Upanishad calls us Amritasya Putraha. It says that you are not Mrita Putra. Don't consider yourself as Alpa. Don't consider yourself as cheap. Don't always think about lower things. You are a broad mind. You should develop this broad mind, because you don't belong to this place. You don't belong to this miserable place. You belong to the Lord, and you have a relationship with that Lord, and the Lord is waiting for you. You are eternal, and your only goal is to reach Him. When you reach Him, you become completely happy, and your only goal of life should be the way. You should work on the way to reach Him. That should be the goal of our life. So this is what Shastra teaches, to broaden our consciousness. Otherwise, always our consciousness are very harshva or very miserly. That's why Upanishad they say Dhirgam Pashyata na harshva. always have a broader vision, dirgham pashya, not harshva, not shortened vision. And it says again, param pashya na param. Always see the higher things, always see the bigger things. Don't go for the smaller things. So by means of understanding Bhagavad Gita, our consciousness broadens, and then we become immediately happy by means of knowledge. By knowledge, we become happy. So jnana and moksha. Moksha means we become immediately happy by means of developing the knowledge. So that is the main understanding of this Bhagavad Gita, main benefit of this Bhagavad Gita. In the due course of time, we will understand what does it mean. Understanding Bhagavad Gita will give us happiness. And then in Gita Mahatmya, in Padma Purana, Lord himself says what is the benefit of understanding this Bhagavad Gita. He says, Atra adhyayam tadardam va shlokam ardham mardameva va abhyasyati sumedhya sushruma iva sa muchyate. He says, even if a person can understand one chapter of Bhagavad Gita, half a chapter of Bhagavad Gita, one shloka of Bhagavad Gita, half a shloka of Bhagavad Gita, he can be revealed or he can be liberated from this material world. So, understanding Bhagavad Gita or hearing Bhagavad Gita will give us liberation from this material world. This is the Vakya of Lord himself. So, what else benefit that we can get? What else we can think about the other benefits? If we can get liberation, what not Bhagavad Gita can give? So that's why Bhagavad Gita should be heard, should be discussed every day among devotees along with acharyas. Understand. So this Bhagavad Gita, in this Bhagavad Gita, we are going to understand the four important things that is called Adubandha Chatushtaya. When we understand, when we start to read any shastras, we should understand these four things. That is called Adubandha Chatushtaya. What are they? We should understand the Adhikari. Adhikari means the eligibility to read this, to enter this shastra. That is called Adhikari. And second is called Vishaya, the subject matter of the shastra. And third one is called Prayojana, the ultimate result of understanding this shastra. And fourth one is called Sambandha. Sambandha means the text should relate to the subject matter. So it is called Sambandha. So these four things has to be understood. So in this Bhagavad Gita, who is the Adhikari? Who is the eligible person to understand this Bhagavad Gita? Then Acharyas they explain the three kinds of people are eligible to understand this Bhagavad Gita. Who are they? They are called Sannishta, and then Parinishtita, and then Nirapeksha. So these are the three kinds of devotees who are eligible to understand this Bhagavad Gita. What is Sannishta, what is Parinitishta, and what is Parinishtita, and what is Nirapeksha? In the due course of time, we will understand this also. So in the Bhagavad Gita, we have three kinds of path. Like all the shastras, they always describe these three kinds of path. That is karma, jnana, upasana kanda. That is our bhakti kanda. So these three things we are going to understand from this Bhagavad Gita. And also Bhagavad Gita speaks about both pravritti and nivritti marga also. Like all the shastras. Shastras, they speak about this both pravritti and nivritti. Pravritti means how to live in this world, and nivritti means how to leave this world. So in Bhagavad Gita itself, we can say karmanyeva adhikaraste, karmanaiva hi samsiddhim. So ityadi shlokas, they guide us how to live in this material world, how to act in this material world. And there are shlokas like sarvadharman parityajya. In those shlokas, satatam kirtayanto mam. So in those shlokas, Krishna speaks about how to get out of this material world, how to get renounced, how to leave from this so-called man-made dharma. So these two kinds of things, that is pravritti marga and nivritti marga, will be also discussed in this Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita doesn't encourage us directly nivritti marga. We should do our pravritti, we should do our regulator or prescribed work until we become detached naturally. So that's why in Bhagavad Gita you can see Krishna is always pushing Arjuna to fight. He didn't say you renounce and get away. He says you fight. And then slowly, by means of doing your karma, you will get detachment. From the detachment, you can develop bhakti. So that's the whole understanding is Bhagavad Gita from pravritti and nivritti. So don't think this Bhagavad Gita is just speaking about nivritti marga. It is speaking about detachment. Like many people, they get scared when we speak about Bhagavad Gita means we should take sannyasa or we should renounce this world. No, Bhagavad Gita speaks about how we should live in this material world. perfectly, so that at one point of time we can get detached from this material world. We cannot leave this material world. Even if you live artificially, the vasanas won't go away, so we have to come back to this material world. So Bhagavad Gita trains us how to live in this material world, so that you can leave this material world permanently, once forever. So these are the subjects matter that we are going to discuss from this Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters. So these 18 chapters are discussing 18 different knowledge of Upanishads. And this Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 parts, that is Purva, Madhyama, Antima Shadga. So this Purva Shadga, it is going to deal about the Jivatma, the Amsha of the nature of the Jivatma, and this Jivatma is the Amsha of the Lord, and also how this Jivatma can realize himself, or the self-realization, how it can happen by means of Nishkama Karma Yoga along with Jnana. So this is the first subject matter which is discussed in the first 6 chapters. That's called Purva Shadga. So we have Yamunacharya's Gita Sangraha. So Yamunacharya is considered as the Manasika Guru of Sripad Ramanujacharya. So Yamunacharya has given a beautiful grantha called Gita Sangraha. In this, he gives Sangraha Shloka. He gives a precise shloka, or the condensed form of shloka for every chapter. So he says that Jnana Karmatmike Nishte Yoga Lakshe Sanskrite Atmana Bhuti Siddharte Purva Shadgena Chodite. In the first 6 chapter, Lord Krishna describes about these things, that is Jnana Karmatmike Nishte Yoga Lakshe Sanskrite, the self-realization of the soul, and this can be attained only by means of Nishkama Karma Yoga, which has the Jnana inside it. So that is the first six chapters. And we have Madhyame Bhagavat Tattva Yatatmi Avapti Siddhaye Jnana Karma Avinirvartaye Bhakti Yoga Prakirtitaha. In the middle 6th chapter, Krishna is going to speak about Bhakti as a means to attain him, and also the Lord as a source of both Prakriti and the Jivatmas, and he is the supreme object of attainment, and the supremacy of the Lord is established in the middle 6th chapter. And in the end 6th chapter, that is from 13 to 18, Pradhana Purusha Vyakta Sarveshwara Visheshanam Karmadir Bhakti Rityadi Purvashesha Antimoditaha. So in the last 6th chapter, we are going to discuss about the Jnana Kanda, or the true nature of the Lord, the true nature of the Jivatma, the true nature of the Prakriti, and also how the Bhakti can help in both the Jnana and Karma, and also the supremacy of the Lord is established, and ultimately the 3 things, how it culminates in Bhakti, that is Karma and Jnana and Bhakti, how everything is culminated in the Sharanagati Tattva. So all these things are discussed in the last 6 chapters. So if you see, the first 6 chapter is considered as Karma Yoga, Karma section, and the middle 6 chapter is considered as the Bhakti section, and last 6 chapter is considered as the Jnana section. So this Bhakti is kept in the middle. Why? Because whatever you want to do, whatever you want to protect, you have to cover it from both up and down. So Bhakti is considered as most valuable thing. So it is kept in the middle and is covered from the top and bottom. And Bhakti is kept in the middle, so that Bhakti will have connection with both Karma and Jnana. If Bhakti is kept in the beginning or in the end, then Bhakti will have connection with either with Karma or with Jnana only. But it is kept in the middle, so that to show that in order to get your result from Karma Yoga or from Jnana Yoga, Bhakti is essential. Without Bhakti, Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga is useless. So in order to instruct that, we have Bhakti Yoga in the middle. So these are some of the subjects matter that we are going to understand from this Bhagavad Gita. And tomorrow we'll understand few facts about Bhagavad Gita, and slowly we will enter inside the Bhagavad Gita. So we are not in rush. There is no any time limit that we have to rush this many things every day. So we'll go slowly, and we'll try to understand the Acharya's commentaries also very thoroughly, because there are many Acharyas, more than 40 Acharyas have given very beautiful commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, but according to my knowledge, whatever understanding I have, we can take maybe 4 or 5 Acharyas and we'll try to understand from their point of view how the Bhagavad Gita is presented by Vyasadeva. So I will stop here, and if you have any questions or comments, you can always message me, and I will be able to answer you in that messages. So thank you very much. See you all tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.